Good evening, you're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Worshippers perform prayers at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque after 2 weeks of tension. Moscow orders a reduction in the number of US diplomats in response to fresh sanctions against Russia. And the number of Omani employees in the private sector increases to exceed 230,000. Those were the headlines, and now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Majesty King Mohammed VI of Morocco on the Throne Day anniversary. After 2 weeks of snowballing tension and some of the worst violence in years, the main prayer session at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque ended with clashes today, with Israel setting an age limit on who could attend. Extra police stood guard throughout the walled old city in anticipation of mass protests. But aside from a few hotspots where Palestinian protesters briefly clashed with Israeli officers, violence at the level seen in recent days was so far avoided. Throughout the day, Israel limited entry to the mosque's compound, referred to by Jews as the Temple Mount and by Muslims as the Noble Sanctuary, to men over age of 50, while women of all ages were allowed in. A few thousand people made their way to Al-Aqsa Mosque for today's prayers, while a younger crowd remained outside and worshipped from the side streets. When the prayer session ended, those congregated left the area peacefully for the most part. The Arab League Secretary-General Ahmed Abul-Ghait in Egypt warned Israel that Jerusalem is a red line that nobody is allowed to cross. He made the remarks at an urgent meeting in Cairo with the participation of 22 foreign ministers or government representatives to discuss ways to ease the tense situation in the region after Israel removed the security apparatus from the entrance to the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound in East Jerusalem. At the meeting, the Arab foreign ministers strongly condemned Israel's actions in East Jerusalem, stressing that the recent Israeli moves are illegal. At a press briefing after the meeting, Abul-Ghait and some foreign ministers urged Israel to stop its policies and violations in East Jerusalem and called on the United Nations to implement its resolutions regarding Jerusalem to maintain peace and security in the region. Officials said Jordan will not allow the return of Israel's ambassador until the shooting of 2 Jordanians by an embassy security guard has been properly investigated. Yesterday, King Abdullah II called on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to try the guard, who traveled home on Monday night with other embassy officials after being briefly questioned by Jordanian investigators. The guard was welcomed home and greeted as a hero by Netanyahu. Israel maintained the guard had diplomatic immunity. The Israeli foreign minister said the security guard shot dead a Jordanian worker who had come to an apartment to install furniture and had stabbed him in the back with a screwdriver. A second Jordanian, the landlord of the apartment, was also killed, apparently by accident. Russia's foreign ministry today ordered a reduction in the number of US diplomats in Russia and said it was closing down a US recreation retreat in response to fresh sanctions against Russia. The US Senate approved a new package of stiff financial sanctions today against Russia, Iran and North Korea and sent it to President Donald Trump to sign. Relations between Russia and the United States dropped to a post-Cold War low following Russia's annexation of Crimea and interference in eastern Ukraine in 2014. Reports of Russian meddling in the 2016 presidential election have put a damper on hopes for better ties that the Kremlin pinned on Trump's presidency. Moscow said it would cut the US diplomatic corps even further if the US decides to expel more Russian diplomats. The UN Security Council has welcomed this week's meeting of rival Libyan leaders and is urging all Libyans to support a negotiated political solution, national reconciliation and an immediate ceasefire. French President Emmanuel Macron hosted a meeting on Tuesday at which Libyan President Fayez al-Sarraj and military leader General Khalifa Haftar committed themselves to a ceasefire. They also agreed to work towards presidential and parliamentary elections and to find a roadmap for securing their lawless country against terrorism and trafficking. The Security Council underscored the importance of the UN's central role in facilitating a Libyan-led political dialogue and welcomed new UN envoy Ghassan Salama. A 5-judge panel of Pakistan's Supreme Court today disqualified thrice-elected Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif from holding office over allegations of corruption and ordered criminal charges be filed against him and his family. The court panel, in a unanimous decision, said Sharif was disqualified for not remaining truthful and honest after considering evidence against him. It also ruled that Sharif could no longer serve as a member of the National Assembly, a powerful lower house of the parliament. The court directed the country's anti-corruption body to file corruption charges against Sharif, his 2 sons and daughter in the next 6 weeks for concealing their assets. After the court's ruling, Sharif consulted party leaders on nominating a candidate to replace him. That person will serve as Prime Minister until March 2018, when the next general elections will be held. A freak storm swept through Istanbul yesterday, unleashing heavy rain and hail that flooded roads, felled trees, and brought air traffic and transport to a standstill. At least 2 people were injured when an old cemetery wall collapsed. Flights from city's Ataturk airport, a major regional hub, had been suspended. Parts of the city were pounded by golf ball-sized hail and roads were flooded with muddy rainwater. The downpour left some cars and buses submerged or stranded. A large crane fell over at Haydarpasa port near the southern entrance to Bosphorus, causing an explosion and a fire that was later brought under control. It was the second time this month that heavy rains flooded streets and disrupted transport in Istanbul. Still to come in our news bulletin. Activities of the Scouts summer camp concluded in Jabal Ashur in the governorate of Dhofar. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Oman oil price rose today 44 cents to reach $49 and 83 cents in September delivery per barrel. The average price of Oman oil for August delivery is $46.52 per barrel, decreasing by $4.03 compared to July delivery. The number of Omani employees in the private sector increased to more than 230,000, according to statistics issued by the Ministry of Manpower. Around 34% of these employees are working in the construction sector. The Ministry of Manpower seeks to improve its e-services, including e-applications for the job and the registration of works and license contracts. The ministry also pointed out that more than 62,000 of Omani employees joined the private sector starting from January 2017 until May this year, whilst those who resigned their position reached 56,000 in 2017. It is worth mentioning that more than 40,000 job seekers applied for a job through e-application services from 2016 until May 2017. Around 350 participants from inside and outside the Sultanate took part in the Scouts summer camp, which concluded in Jabal Ashur in the governorate of Dhofar. The organisation of the camp activities aimed to instill the spirit of competitiveness among the youth. The camp included a number of programs and events related to social, cultural, technological, sports and Scouts fields. The first Gulf Scouts Forum, which was organized by the Directorate General of Scouts and Guides, was also concluded. It sought to spread knowledge and gather the Scouts from Gulf Cooperation Council countries so as to exchange expertise in this field. Wadi Shab is an enchanting place for tourists with clean water, pools and beautiful surrounding environment. Our reporter Saleh bin Khalfan Al-Rahbi takes us around the area for an acquaintance tour.
At around 140 kilometers from Muscat, on the way to Kuriyat Sur Road, lies a wadi of great beauty and charm. It is Wadi Shab, which is located in Tiwi in a Sharqiya South Governorate.
In Wadi Shab we'll find some water, so we decided to go with them, take a bath and then enjoy it a little bit and then come back. The water was very clean, and I have to say that I'm quite picky when swimming in the rivers or in the lakes. I don't really do that very often. I prefer to swim in the sea. But here I found it very clean. There were fish going around everywhere. So yeah, I really liked it.
The visitors to this beautiful wadi enjoy an adventurous journey. They first ride a boat to get to the area where they start a refreshing walk through the wadi to see the turquoise pools, waterfalls and terraced plantations.
This place is very good, it's nice, and this nature is very beautiful. It is nice for swimming, taking photo, picture, and for diving. It's very nice. I brought my friends here because I listen about this wadi too much, and I show them picture, and they like to visit this.
The pools of Wadi Shab give the tourists an opportunity to swim in pure and fresh water.
The cool breeze, the shade of the palm trees and the fresh water make from this wadi a unique experience for tourists from inside and outside the Sultanate. From Wadi Shab, Saleh bin Khalfan Al-Rahbi, South Sharqiya Governorate.
And now for the general weather forecast around the Sultanate. Cloudy skies will prevail over coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and its nearby mountains, with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the Sultanate will witness cloudy skies with chances of scattered rainfall over the Hajar Mountains. Winds will be south to southwesterly light to moderate. Seas will be slight to moderate with a maximum wave height of 1.5 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Worshippers perform prayers at Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque after 2 weeks of tension. Moscow orders a reduction in the number of US diplomats in response to fresh sanctions against Russia. And the number of Omani employees in the private sector increases to exceed 230,000. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.